Pantheon AI presents Powell's speech triggers market surge plus Meta Google $10 billion AI partnership shocks. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PAI Morning Briefing. It's August 22nd, 2025, and we have a lot to unpack today.
We certainly do, John. The markets are buzzing this morning. It feels like there's a lot of energy out there.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into that market overview. We're seeing some really strong moves. The S&P 500 is up about 1.3%, trading around 6470. And the Dow is right there with it, surging nearly 1.7% to about 45,738.
That's a pretty significant jump for the Dow. And the tech sector isn't being left behind either, right?
Not at all. The Nasdaq is up around 1.6%, but Sarah, the one that really caught my eye is the Russell 2000. It's up a solid 3 1/3%. That's a huge boost for the smaller cap companies and definitely something for investors to watch.
Wow, that is a big move. And it's not just equities. The crypto world is having a moment too. Bitcoin is climbing, up almost 3 3/4% to over $116,000.
Right, but Ethereum is the real story there, isn't it?
It really is. Ethereum is on an absolute tear, up around 11%, trading near $4,700. It's just incredible to see that kind of dynamic movement in both traditional stocks and digital assets on the same day.
It really underscores how much investor sentiment is shifting. So let's dig into the big trends driving all of this. Where should we start?
Well, all eyes are on the Fed. We're all waiting for Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech this morning. His words could send ripples through every corner of the market, couldn't they?
Without a doubt. Historically, his remarks are major market movers. There's this feeling of cautious optimism in the air, with everyone hoping for some clarity on inflation and interest rates.
And beyond the Fed, there are some huge corporate stories making waves. I keep seeing this headline everywhere. 10 things to watch in the stock market Friday, including the Fed and NVIDIA's China plans.
Exactly. And that NVIDIA story is a big one. They're a leader in AI and chips, and their plan to expand in China is a massive strategic pivot. Given the trade tensions, it's a bold move.
It feels like a high-stakes chess match. Is it a brilliant play for new revenue, or are they just adding a ton of complexity and risk to their business? Investors are definitely trying to figure that out.
And speaking of risk, that brings us to another theme, tariffs and economic uncertainty. Economists are getting more vocal about this.
Right. Mark Zandi from Moody's Analytics has been warning that these tariffs are directly leading to higher inflation. It puts policymakers in a really tough spot.
It really does. It's like that analogy of trying to balance your checkbook during a massive shopping spree. You want to stimulate growth, but you can't let prices run wild and end up in the red. It's a delicate balancing act.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, shifting to the tech sector, this next story is just fascinating. Tech frenemies, Meta strikes a $10 billion plus AI cloud deal with rival Google. I had to read that one twice.
You and me both. A 6-year deal worth over $10 billion for Meta to use Google's cloud services for its AI infrastructure. Who saw that coming?
It completely challenges that old idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or in this case, that two giant rivals can't work together. It signals a huge shift where collaboration is becoming just as important as competition, especially in the race for AI dominance.
A trend we'll probably see more of. And from AI collaboration to AI speculation, what's going on with Opendoor?
Yes, the real estate tech world. Opendoor is throwing its weight behind AI to optimize home buying, and its stock is surging. But there's a big buyer beware flag being waved.
Right. The big question is this a genuine value-driven surge, or is it just a meme frenzy masking deeper problems? It reminds me of other times we've seen social media buzz drive a stock through the roof, only for it to come crashing down later.
Exactly. It really highlights the need for due diligence. Not everything that glitters is gold. So when we tie all these threads together, what's the bigger picture?
Well, you have these huge macroeconomic forces at play. The Fed's next move, the double-edged sword of NVIDIA's China strategy, and the inflationary pressure from tariffs. That's the landscape.
And then, layered on top of that, you have this incredible evolution within the tech sector. The Meta-Google deal is a perfect example. I love the analogy of two rival chefs sharing secret ingredients to create a world-class recipe. It's risky and unconventional, but the result could be spectacular.
And it's not just tech. Other sectors are navigating their own transformations. The energy sector is trying to balance growth with a global shift to renewables, like a marathon runner suddenly trying to sprint. And financial institutions are navigating stormy seas with trade uncertainty and new regulations.
And of course, none of this happens in a vacuum. NVIDIA's moves in China, the tariff debates, these things have huge knock-on effects for markets in Asia and Europe. It's all so interconnected.
Which is why the key takeaway from analysts is the need for adaptive strategies. The game is constantly changing. So what are the predictions for the near future?
Well, the consensus is that Powell's speech will set the tone. If he signals a policy tightening, we could see volatility. If he's reassuring, confidence could get a nice boost. On the corporate side, if NVIDIA pulls off its China plan, it could lift the entire semiconductor sector.
But even with all that optimism, the tariff issue is a constant cautionary tale. It's a reminder to ask if these big market gains are truly sustainable when faced with rising costs.
And that's where AI comes in again. It's weaving its way into everything, from real estate to finance. The challenge for investors is figuring out who's creating real value versus who's just riding a short-term hype cycle.
You know, sometimes the market feels like a roller coaster designed by an over-caffeinated engineer. One minute you're soaring, the next you're reeling from a headline.
Laughs. That is so true. It's enough to make you wonder if we should just invest in amusement park rides instead. But honestly, these twists and turns are what make it so fascinating. If it were all predictable, we'd be out of a job.
Couldn't agree more. So let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. We've got strong gains across all major indexes, plus a serious run in crypto with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Right, and the big drivers are the Fed's upcoming speech, corporate strategies like NVIDIA's, and those persistent tariff concerns. In tech, we're seeing surprising alliances like Meta and Google, while also questioning the hype around stocks like Opendoor.
It all paints a picture of a deeply interconnected global market. And that leaves our listeners with some important questions to think about. Are these gains sustainable? How will these new tech collaborations shape the future? And how do you separate real innovation from market frenzy?
Those are the million-dollar questions. At Pantheon AI, we believe asking those hard questions is your best tool. We're here to give you the context and insight to navigate this complex landscape.
So to leave you with one final thought, what risks are you willing to take in this market? And more importantly, are you ready to capitalize on the opportunities that come with them?
Great food for thought. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this was engaging, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little fun. Join us again tomorrow. And remember to stay curious and stay informed. Pantheon AI, your information co-pilot.
Because learning shouldn't feel like a full-time job. Take care and see you next time.